Test 3 review. This is due before the test. Show all your work, turn in before you take the test for credit. Number 1, for A, correlation coefficient R. We have number of items, that's X, and we have the price, that's Y. So we're going to use the calculator and find the correlation coefficient. Here are the instructions for find the regression in the TI Inspire. So we'll go to our calculator, go over near Data Quest. Let's clear out all the tabs. Control, W, no. Click the table, type in the numbers. After we type in our data, we click the graph in the middle. Press Menu, 4 Analyze, 6 Curve Fit, 1 Linear. Scroll down till you find R. Not R squared, but R. 0.98. So we'll write that in the blank. R is equal to 0.98. This is a positive number, so we put positive here. It is strong because it is further away from 0. It is not strong because it's positive. It is strong because it's further away from 0. Okay, so our slope M is 1.281 and our Y-intercept B is 0.354. So using that, we can write our equation, y equals mx plus b. So y equals 1.281x plus b, which is plus 0.354. Let's look at number 2. 3C, linear characteristics. Graph the following equation. Negative 2x plus 5y equals negative 10. To do this, you could graph it in the calculator by pressing Graph, menu 3-2 and typing this in, or you could find the X-Intercept and the Y-Intercept, plot those 2 points, and connect the dots to form a line. Let's find the X-Intercept. So to find the X-Intercept, we set y equal to 0. And we solve for x. So we have negative 2x plus 5 times 0 equals negative 10. So we have negative 2x equals negative 10. Divide each term by negative 2 to get the x by itself. So x equals 5. Now we go over to our graph and plot 5 on the x line. That's your x-intercept. Now let's find the y-intercept. For the y-intercept, we plug in x is equal to 0. Negative 2 times 0 plus 5y equals negative 10. Negative 2 times 0 is just 0, so we have 5y equals negative 10. Divide each term by 5. Y equals negative 2. So we go down here to the y-axis and plot our negative 2. And then we connect the points to form a line. So this is your x-intercept 5, 0, and this is your y-intercept 0, negative 2. You would match the graph on your answer choices. That would look like this. Graph a line that has an x-intercept of negative 5 and a y-intercept of 2. So we're going to go to our graph. X-intercept is going to be when it's on the number line, our x-axis. We have a negative 5. So let's plot our point right here. And our y-intercept is 2. So we go to the y line, the y-axis, and plot a point at 2. Connect the points. And there you have your graph. So this is your x-intercept at negative 5, 0, And this is your Y-intercept at 0, 2. Let's look at number 4 with the paper airplane. A paper airplane was thrown from the top of a tall building. The height of the paper airplane above the ground can be found using the function y equals negative 2.5 times x plus 50, where x is the time in seconds the airplane has been in the air. How many seconds did it take for the paper airplane to reach the ground? So for this one, the first thing you should see is that it says reach the ground. Whenever it says reach the ground is talking about the x-axis. The x-axis is the ground. So we're going to set y equal to 0 because on the x-axis, y is always equal to 0. From there, we're going to solve for x. So we have 0 equals negative 2.5 times x plus 50. Okay, step 2, you want to add 2.5 times x to each expression. I did not line up the x with the 0 because those are not like terms. One is a constant and one of them has an x. We have 2.5 times x equals 50. We want to divide each term by 2.5 to get the x by itself, to isolate the x. So 2.5 divided by 2.5 is 1. So we have 1x equals 20. So it's 20 seconds. That's your answer. Number 5. So we have the water level of a river, where we have the number of days and the water level. The Y-intercept is 0, 16. What does this represent in the context of the water level of the river? So here's your Y-intercept right here. That is representing the initial water level at day 0. So number 6 goes with this graph below. We want to find the Y-intercept. That is when the graph, the line crosses the y-axis. That's right here at 0, 5. So our answer of y-intercept is 0, 5. Okay, let's see if it's increasing or decreasing. This is a negative slope, so it's decreasing. That means our slope is going to be negative. So let's draw our triangle. Our rise is 1, 2. Each square is skip counted by ones. And our run is also skip counted by ones. So we have 3. Rise over run, our change in y over the change in x is 2/3. So our slope is negative 2/3. Your equation in y equals mx plus b form is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5. The 5 came from our y-intercept. Now for the domain, that's left, right, x. So left, right, x. So our left x looks like it's over here. So let's make a line. And let's make a line on the right x. We have vertical lines here that we made. Vertical lines is x equals negative 3 over here. And on this one, x equals 6. So our left x is negative 3 and our right x is 6. So we're going to write that in our line. Negative 3 on the left side of the line is 6 on the right side of the line. We're talking about the letter x, so we put x in the middle. We put our less than symbols. Notice that both of these points that go through these vertical lines are closed points. So that means we put a line underneath each of these inequality symbols. If you have arrows or holes, there's no line. If you have just a line or a point, you have a line underneath the inequality symbols. Now let's look at the range. That's down, up, y. For the range, we're going to make 2 horizontal lines. One that goes through the lowest y value, the down y, and one that goes through the up y, the highest one. Our lowest y is going to be y equals 1. Our highest y is y equals 7. Another thing you could do here for showing work is to label this point. We have -3, 7. Go ahead and label that point on your paper. If you need a highlighter or two different color highlighters, go ahead and get those two to make your lines. Okay, now let's go ahead and write our range in. So our lowest y is 1, so let's put that on the left. Our highest y is 7. Let's put that on the right side of our line. We're talking about range, so we're going to put the letter y. We could also put f of x. That's the same thing. We have lines underneath both less than symbols because they are both close points. Okay, let's look at number 7. The y-intercept is when it crosses the y-axis. That's at 0, 7. So go ahead and write that down. This is a negative slope, so it is decreasing. Decreasing slopes have negative slopes, so we're going to put a minus sign right there. Let's make our triangle. Our rise is 1, 2, 3. 3 because each square is skip counting by ones. And our run is also skip counted by ones. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So our change in y is 3, and our change in x is 4. So our slope is -3/4. Our equation is y equals -3/4 x plus 7. And the 7 comes from the y-intercept right here. It's a plus 7 because this is a positive 7. Now let's find our domain, left, right, x. So on the left part of our graph picture, we put a vertical line. And on the right side, we put a vertical. We have vertical lines, and vertical lines is x equals. On the left side, we have x equals 0. On the right side, we have x equals 4. So for our domain, left, right, x, we put 0 on the left side, and we put 4 on the right side. We're talking about domain, so we put the letter x, and we put our less than symbols. Notice on our left side, we have a hole, so there's no line. On the right side, we have a closed point, so we have a line. Now let's find the range, down, up, y. And let's go ahead and make our horizontal lines. So we have one going on the lowest y, or down y, and then we make one on our highest y, or up y. We have horizontal lines, so that's y equals. Y equals 4 right here, the lower y, and the higher y equals 7. So we write our lower y, the lowest y, on the left. We write the highest y on the right side. We're talking about range, so we could put either f of x or y. Let's put less than symbols. The lowest was a closed point, so we put a line under it. Our highest y is a hole, so there's no line. Let's do number 8. Find the y-intercept. So this one is not labeled for you already, so let's go ahead and label that. So when it crosses the y-axis, that's right here. Our y-intercept is 0, 4. So our y-intercept, go ahead and write down 0, 4. This is a positive slope, so it is increasing. And we put a plus sign in front of our slope. Let's find another point. Has to be a lattice point. And lattice points is when the graph intersects both grid lines at the same time. So that's a lattice point, that's a lattice point. This could be a lattice point. All of these are lattice points, but we only need 2. Let's go ahead and use our intercepts for the points. So let's count the squares. 1, 2, But notice the squares are not skip counted by ones this time. They're skip counted by twos. So we have 2, 4. So that's 2, 4. Our rise is 4. Our change in y is 4. Our run, 1. It's also skip counted by twos. So that's 2. So our slope, our change in y, which is 4, over our change in x, which is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that's your slope. So your equation y equals mx plus b is y equals 2x plus 4. The 4 came from the y-intercept and the 2 came from the slope. So for our 0, that is looking for the x part of the x-intercept, this right here. The 0 is x equals -2. And the x-intercept is -2, 0. The domain, it has an arrow on the left, an arrow on the right. They're pointing in the left direction forever and the right direction forever. So this arrow is going to the left and down forever, and this arrow is going to the right and up forever. We have all real numbers as the domain. For the range, down, up, y is going down forever, and it's going up forever. So the range is also all real numbers. Number 9, 3E, linear transformations. A student graphed f of x equals x and g of x equals f of x plus 5 on the same coordinate grid. Which statement describes how the graphs of f and g are related? So first we want to sketch a graph of these two functions. So f of x equals x is just the parent linear function. Looks like that. And g of x is just f of x plus 5. Well, we know that in this case f of x is really just x. So if we graph x plus 5, we should get a graph that looks kind of like this. Now let's read our answer choices and see what this describes. A. The graph of f is shifted 5 units up to create the graph of g. Well, from the blue to the red, yes, it did go up. Let's look at B. The graph of f is steeper than the graph of g. These are parallel lines, so that means they have the same slope. So one of them can't be steeper or less steep than the other, so that can't be right. C. The graph of f is shifted 5 units down to create the graph of g. The red one did not go down, it went up. And D. The graph of f is less steep than the graph of g. Again, these are parallel lines. They have the same slope, so one can't have a flatter slope. So your answer is A. So again, parallel lines have the same slope, so it can't change the steepness. Number 10. Which function is best represented by the graph of g? So we see f and we see g. Well, they didn't go up or down from each other. So let's describe each of these answer choices. G of x equals f of x minus 4. If you were to graph this, x minus 4, that goes down, down 4. This did not go up or down, so that is not the correct answer. Okay, the next one. G of x equals 1/3 f of x. That changes the slope. That's less steep. The next one, C. G of x equals f of x minus 2. Minus 2 means that it goes down, down 2. These graphs did not go up or down from each other, so that is not correct. Let's look at the last one, D. G of x equals 3 times f of x. This one is more steep. Now, if you look at the comparison between f and g, g is flatter. When the line is flatter, less steep, that means the slope is closer to 0. 3 and 1/3, if you look at those two numbers, the one that's closest to 0 is the 1/3. So it wouldn't be D, it would be B, less steep. Let's look at number 11, parallel lines. We have the equation y equals 2/5 x plus 7. Our slope is 2/5. What is the equation in slope-intercept form of the parallel line that passes through the point 10, -10? Some of your copies might have a different point. Go ahead and cross that out and change it to 10, -10. So remember, parallel lines have the same slope, so your slope is still 2/5. Now we need to solve for b. So first you want to set up the equation y equals 2/5 x plus b. This b right here is your new b. This b right here is our old b. We do not need to even look at it. From here, let's plug in our point to solve for b. So we have -10 equals 2/5 times 10 plus b. 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So we have -10 equals 4 plus b. Subtract 4 from each expression. So -14 equals b. So our equation that is parallel to this line is y equals 2/5 x minus 14. Number 12, perpendicular line. Flip the fraction, change the sign. So we have the equation y equals 2/5 x plus 7. So our slope, our original slope, is 2/5. What is the equation in slope-intercept form of the perpendicular line that passes through the point 10, -10? Again, change your point on your paper to this number if you haven't already. So when you have a perpendicular slope, you flip the fraction, change the sign. So instead of 2/5, we have 5/2. Instead of positive, we have negative. Now let's solve for b. So first we want to set up our equation. Y equals -5/2 x plus b. This is our new b. We do not have to look at this old b. It has nothing to do with this problem here. So next we're going to plug in the point. So we have -10 equals -5/2 times x, which is 10, plus b. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 5 times -5 is -25. To get b by itself, we add 25 to each expression. And we line these up because they are like terms, they're both constants. So b equals 15. So our equation is y equals -5/2 x plus 15. Number 13. What is the slope of the line represented by 3x minus 10y equals 20? I'm going to show you 3 different methods to use to find the answer. Here's method 1. Solve for y. So step 1 is that you create space to move the x over. Step 2, subtract 3x from each expression. And you line up the x with the space because 20 and x are not like terms. One is a constant, one is an x. They are two different degrees. Step 3, we're going to divide -10 from each term. So divide this term by -10, this term by -10, and this term by -10. By the way, there's 3 different unique terms here, so your answer also has to have 3 terms. No more and no less. Unless, of course, something cancels out. So we have 1y equals 3/10, because the two negatives cancel out, 3/10 x minus 2. The slope is what's in front of the x because it's in y equals form, and we know that y equals mx plus b, so the m is 3/10. So slope is 3/10. So that's method 1. Let's see method 2. M equals -a over b. So for this one, we identify a and b and plug it into the formula. A equals 3 and b equals -10. By the way, this b is not the same as the one that's in mx plus b. That's why I put a capital B instead. So let's plug it into the formula. You have -a over b is equal to -3 over -10. The two negatives cancel, so your m, your slope, is 3/10. So that's the second method. That method is not on a formula chart, so you will need to memorize this if you're going to use this method. Okay, method 3, the graphing calculator. So to do this method, you go to your graphing calculator and click on graph. To put in our graph equation, we press menu, 3, graph entry edit, 2, relation. And that's to type in any equation that is not in the y equals form already. So let's type that in. 3x minus 10y equals 20. And then press enter. To get the slope of this line, you click menu, 8, geometry, 3, measurement, 3, slope. Click the graph and then click again in a place where you can see the number. Our slope is 0.3, so m equals 0.3. If you were to press Control Enter after putting in 3/10, we know that that also is the same thing. 3/10 is the same thing as 0.3. So here's the steps. Let's review them again. You press graph, input the equation, menu 3, 2, and then after you graph your equation, to find the slope, you press menu, 8, 3, 3. Click graph, and then click off of the graph to be able to see your number. And so that's your answer. Number 14. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points 13, 9 and -52, 15? Let's label these points. x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to show you 2 methods. The first one is the slope formula. So on your formula chart, you have the formula m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. We plug that in. You have 15 minus 9 all over -52 minus 13. If you simplify that, you get 6 over negative 65. This fraction can't be reduced anymore, so that's your answer. If you want to put that in as a decimal, go calculate. Let's put that in. So we have negative 6 over 65. To get a decimal, we press Control, Enter. So here's our decimal. Negative 0.092308. Let's use method 2 now. Vernier data quest. So to do that, we go to our calculator, click on the beaker. Let's close all these tabs. Control W, no. Click the table, put in your values. We have 13 and 9 in the first row, and then we have negative 52 and 15 in the second row. Click the graph, menu, 4 analyze, 6 curve fit, 1 linear. And our slope is negative 0.092307 and so on. And that is approximately the same thing we had earlier. So this method also works. Let's look at the next one. Number 15. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points 7, negative 9, and negative 8, 19? So I'll show you both methods on this one just like on number 14. So let's label our points. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Plug them into the slope formula. So we have our given formula. Y2 is 19. Then we have minus Y1, which is negative 9. Make sure you put both the minus and the negative. All over X2, which is negative 8, minus X1, which is 7. The two negatives make a positive. So you have 28 over negative 15. And that's approximately, if you put it in the calculator, if you press Control Enter, it's approximately negative 1.867. So that is your approximation answer. You'll need that approximation for the second method, Vernier data quest, since they give you that in a decimal form only. To do that method, we press the green beaker. Let's close out the tabs. Control W, no. Click the table, put in the 2 points. Our first point is 7, negative 9. So that goes to the first row. In our second row, we have negative 8 and 19. Click the graph in the middle, press menu, 4 analyze, 6 curve fit, 1 linear. And we have m equals negative 1.8666667. Yep, that's the same thing as what we got before, so that works. Let's look at number 16. 3b, rate of change. We have a graph right here, population of Webb County, Texas, where we have the population in thousands per number of years since the year 2000. By the way, when it says since 2000, that means that when x is 0, when x is 0, the year is 2000. When x is 1, it's 2001. When x is 2, it's 2002, and so on. If you're looking for an x and want you to predict the number, you just subtract the age difference, and that's x. The age difference since the beginning of when it was recorded. So we already have our points labeled, so we could use this formula here, or we could make a triangle and do our change in y over change in x. So let's count these. Each square is counted by 25s. So we have 25, 50. So our rise is 50. And our run is skip chi by 2s. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We know it's skip chi by 2s because that is the number right here. This is skip chi by 25s because from 200 to 225, that's 25. From 2 to 4, that's 2. It's a positive slope, so it's increasing. So our m, our slope, is positive 50 over 10. So our slope is 5. Number 17, we're going to find the slope of this table. So we can find the change in x and the change in y. To get from negative 2 to 0, we add 2. To get from 15 and 7, we subtract 8. Our change in y over the change in x equals negative 8 over positive 2. That equals negative 4. So your slope is negative 4. You could do other methods with this too. You could put it into the slope formula, or you could use Vernier Data Quest. Let's look at number 18. Finding the slope. Since it doesn't say anything about regressions or correlation coefficients or predict or anything, we're going to assume that this is completely linear. So let's just use the first 2 points, or whichever points look the easiest to use. The top is going to be x and the bottom is y. So the change in x, to get from 0 to 1, we add 1. To get from 15 to 22, we add 7. That's our change in y. Now, don't get confused with the change of x and change of y. Remember, y always goes on top for the slope. Change in y over change in x is a positive 7 over a positive 1. That equals 7. So our slope is 7. Number 19. The function y equals 8.75 plus 2.5 times x minus 5 can be used to determine the cost in dollars for the taxi ride of x miles. What is the rate of change of the cost in dollars with respect to the number of miles? So cost in dollars is our y, number of miles is x. Rate of change is the slope. It's in the y equals form already, and there's only one x here. Number 2.5 is in front of the x, so our slope is 2.5. Number 20, 2g, horizontal versus vertical lines. This line right here, it is a vertical line. If you remember from before, we have Hooy-Vux. Hooy is horizontal, 0 slope, y equals. Vux is vertical, undefined, x equals. This is a vertical line, and it goes through the x-axis, x equals 3. Our slope is undefined, and our equation is x equals 3. The 0 is when it crosses the x-axis. That's also x equals 3. And our x-intercept is 3, 0. What is the equation of the line that passes through the point negative 3, 8? It has a slope of 0. So on number 21, if it has a slope of 0, we know it is a horizontal line. Hooy-Vux. Horizontal, 0 slope, y equals. So since we have a horizontal line, we have our y. So our answer is y equals 8. And that's our equation. It also means that our range is 8. Number 22, 2D, direct variation. The value of y varies directly with x. If x equals 4, then y equals 28. What is the value of x when y equals 140? So I'm going to show you two methods on this one. Method 1 is cross multiplication proportions. Method 2 is y equals k times x, where you find your constant proportionality to solve for the missing variable. Let's start with method 1, proportions. So we're going to set up a proportion so we have one fraction equals another fraction. Since it says directly, we're going to have one variable over the other, and they're lined up with each other. The x's go on top with the x's, the y's go on the bottom with the y's, or vice versa. X equals 4 with y equals 28. X equals, we don't know, with y equals 140. Since there's an equal sign, we could cross multiply. So we have 28x equals 560. Divide each term by 28 to get the x by itself to isolate it. 28x divided by 28 is 1x. So 1x equals 20. Here's method 2. Y equals kx. So we're going to plug this in to find k. So 28 equals k times 4. Divide each term by 4. So 7 equals k. So to find x, we're going to solve for x here. So we have 140 equals 7 times x. Divide each term by 7. 20 equals x. You could also recognize that 28 times 5 equals 140. And so whatever you do to one part of the fraction, you have to do to the other. 4 times 5 is 20. So that could be a third way that you could find the same answer. Study each of these methods and then choose the one you like the best. So our answer is x equals 20. Number 23. The value of y is directly proportional to the value of x. If y equals 25, then x equals 120. What is the value of y when x equals 60? So it's directly proportional, so we can use proportions. Let's put all the y's on top and all the x's on the bottom. So the numerator is going to be 25 for y, and the denominator is 120 for x. What is the value of y? We don't know. When x equals 60. There's an equal sign, so we could cross multiply. So we have 120 y equals, it equals 1,500. Divide each term by 120. If you divide that, you get 1y equals 12.5. Method 2, y equals k times x. So we're going to find k first. So we have 25 equals 120 times k. Divide each term by 120. If you simplify this fraction, you get 5/24 equals k. So to find y, we have 5/24 times 60. If you plug this in, you get 12.5. Now the third way you could recognize that 120 to get to 60, you just half it. So divide by 2. And whatever you do to one part of the fraction, you do to the other to reduce it. Half of 25 is 12 and a half, because half of 24 is 12, and half of 1 is 0.5, 1/2. So your final answer is y equals 12.5. Again, look at all three of these methods at first, and then use the one you think is the easiest for you. Let's look at number 24. 5a, solving linear equations. True or false? Show steps to justify. True or false? X equals 2. Let's figure that out. So our first step, we have 5x plus 7 equals 17. We will isolate the x. So the first step we want to do is subtract 7 from each expression. So then we have 5x, and that's 0, they cancel, equals 10. Step 2, you want to divide each term by 5 to get rid of the 5 on that side so you can have x isolated. 5x divided by 5 is 1x. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So x equals 2. So x does equal 2. That is true. And here's your justification. Algebraic steps and verbal steps. Okay, let's look at number 25. True or false? X equals 0. -3 times x minus 5 equals -3x plus 15. So our first step, we want to distribute. Multiply each term by -3. So -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -5 is a positive 15. And then rewrite the other expression. Step 2. Let's get all the x's on one side. Add 3x to each expression. Line up the x's together because they are like terms. They both have one x next to them. So if 15 equals 15, all the x's went away. Okay, the next step, we're going to subtract 15 from each expression to get all the constants on one side. So we have 0 equals 0. Now 0 equals 0 is always true no matter what. So your answer is not x equals 0, but infinite solutions. Be very careful with using nsolve. If you put this in nsolve, it will say x equals 0. It will not say infinite solutions. This is the one time that nsolve does not work for solving an equation. So if you ever get x equals 0 in nsolve, make sure that you check your work by showing your algebraic and verbal steps. Number 26. 5b. Solving linear inequalities. True or false? X is less than or equal to -3. Let's show our algebraic step. We have -5 times x is less than or equal to 15. First step, we want to divide each term by -5. Okay, so now we have x, 1x, and -3. We divide an inequality by a negative number, you flip the inequality sign. So we have x is greater than or equal to -3. So x is not less than or equal to -3. It's the opposite, it's greater than or equal to. So that is false. 27. True or false? X is less than or equal to 2. Algebraic steps. -3 times x plus 12 is greater than or equal to 7 times x minus 8. So the first thing you want to do is get all the x's on one side. Let's add 3x to each expression. Line up your x's so that you can combine the like terms. That's 0. Break down the 12. Break down the sign. 7x plus 3x is 10x. And then break down the minus 8. Okay, the next step, let's have all the constants on one side. So let's add 8 to each expression. So then we have 20 is greater than or equal to 10x. Divide each term by 10, and then you get 2 is greater than or equal to x. So true or false, x is less than or equal to 2. 0 is less than or equal to 2, so let's see if that works for our answer. Is 2 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, it's the same. 2 is greater than or equal to x is the same thing as x is less than or equal to 2. These are the same thing. This is true. So basically, step 4 would be flip everything to have x on the left. On answer choices, your variable that you're isolating is almost always going to be on the left side. Number 28, 12e. Literal equations and standard to slope intercept. Which of the following is equivalent to 5x minus 8y equals 40? Well, first of all, how many different kinds of terms are there here? We have an x term, a y term, and a constant term. So that's 3 different terms. So this one only has 2 terms. We can't have that. This one also only has 2 terms. So we can automatically cross those out. Those are not good answers. So let's go ahead and write out our algebraic steps and our verbal steps. So step 1, you will make space to move the x over. So 5x minus 8y equals space plus 40. Step 2, you want to move the x to the other side. So to do that, we put minus 5x on each expression. And notice I line up the x with the space because these are not like terms. One's an x with a degree of 1, and one does not have an x. It has 0 degrees x. So now we have, that's 0. Carry this down, negative 8y equals negative 5x plus 40. The last step is to divide each term by negative 8. So negative 8y divided by negative 8 is 1y. 1y equals, the two negatives turn to a positive, 5/8 x minus 5. So that is your answer. Some copies of your reviews does not have this answer choice, so it would be none of these. This one has it for J. This is not a negative slope. Here it is. Be sure to correct it if you need to. Correct it on your paper. 29. 2b, point slope form. What is the equation and slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the points 0, 5, and 7, -3? You can use many different kinds of methods for this. For right now, I'm just going to show you the slope formula though. So we have our slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So let's plug that in. y2 is -3 minus 5, which is y1, all over x2, which is 7, minus x1, which is 0. So we have -8 over 7. That's our slope. So if any of these do not have this, you could go ahead and mark them out. This one doesn't have it. This one doesn't have it. This one has it. And this one doesn't have it. So from just finding the slope, you could find the answer. But what if there was two answer choices that had the same slope? This is what you do next. So we have y equals negative 8 over 7x plus b. This is our new b. To solve for the b, we're going to plug in one of these points into our equation and solve for b. Let's plug in the first point because it looks easier. So y is 5. 5 equals negative 8/7 x, which is 0, plus b. 0 times negative 8/7 is 0. So 5 equals b. That's a plus 5. So that works and that works. So C is your answer. Number 30. 2C. Writing linear functions. The table represents some points on the graph of a linear function. X, negative 7.5, and negative 3.5, and y, 12, 0. Which function represents the same relationship? It looks like all the slopes are different. So if we find the slope, we find our answer. We have decimals here, so let's go ahead and use the calculator to calculate this equation. So we go to our green beaker, linear data quest. For near data quest, let's clear out our tabs by pressing Control W, no. Click the table and let's type in our values. So our x's, we have negative 7.5 and negative 3.5. For the y's, we have 12 and 0. Make sure that you don't leave it like this. You have to get out of it for it to calculate correctly. Click the graph in the middle, graph view, press menu, 4 analyze, 6 curve fit, 1 linear. And let's find our slope. Our slope is negative 3. Our b is negative 10.5. So let's go ahead and write those down on our paper. M equals negative 3 and b equals negative 10.5. So this one does not work at all. This one, the slope is wrong, but the b is correct. And this one is completely wrong. So our answer is A. Okay, the last one, number 31. 2H, writing inequalities given scenarios. A student is ordering a flower arrangement. She could choose any combination of roses and carnations for her flower arrangement, as she does not want to spend more than $30. If roses cost $3 each and carnations cost $2 each, which inequality represents all possible combinations of X roses and Y carnations? So roses is X and each rose is $3. The word and means plus. Carnations we're calling Y. Each carnation is $2 each. When it says she does not want to spend more than $30, that means it has to be less than or equal to $30. So she can spend $30, but she does not want to spend more than $30. So C and D we can automatically cross out because roses X is $3 each. She can spend $30, but not any more than $30. So this would work. This was not as good of an answer choice. B is your answer. Good luck on test 3. Again, make sure you turn in this review before you take the test to get that full credit. Good luck.